Holy smokes, it is. I almost said Thursday. I don't know why I almost said Thursday. It's Wednesday night, guys. You know what that means?
Again.
It is live. This is our weekly live for Prepper Talk Radio. We are the podcast for the prepared. And you know what is fun about this? Everything. If you're not prepping, if you're not into this lifestyle, what are you wasting your life's journey on? Because man, I feel so empowered. We just had another interview, you guys. It's going to be so exciting when this drops on Tuesday on regenerative farming. And holy smokes, my mind has been expanded, blown apart. Thank you, J.R. Henry, for that amazing interview.
We love that guy. I tell you, man.
He's fantastic.
Love John.
Spits some great truth. That guy. Wow. So without further ado, welcome to the show, guys. Tonight we are going to be going deep into invisibility. We're going to talk some mindset things, a lot of different topics within the realm of OPSEC and becoming lesser known, even though we're here like, hey, look at me, I'm a podcaster. But tonight we got Paris is gone, so it's Shane and I holding down the fort. And thank you, everyone that's in the comments. You guys have blown it up already. This is fantastic. So don't forget to check out our good friends over at Jase Medical, JASE medical.com. They got some sweet skills in getting you the emergency antibiotics you need. You like that? Sweet skills?
Yes.
Use the code PrepperTalk to save $10 at checkout, guys. JaceMedical.com.
And I save them for emergencies. That's what I save them for.
And you can replenish them. Like we use ours. It's kind of funny. They take into consideration, like I have allergies to certain medications. They take that into consideration when they build your kit, right? And I was sick, and the doctor's like, "Oh, give you this." Went to another doctor. He's like, "No, we're going to give you this." I'm like, "No, none of those work." And I kept going, and finally, I'm like, "Forget it." And so I had a Z-Pack in there, and I knew this would be the solution. I looked at the little chart. The chart said that was the one to use. The chart came in the kit. I used the Z-Pack. Guess what? I was feeling fine. 2 days later, I had no cold. I'd been dealing with it 12 weeks. I since was replenished, and now I'm good to go. Everything in your world should revolve around you learning how to handle it yourself as best you can, or finding the right resources. And hopefully today, we're going to give you some good ones.
Guess what I'm learning now? I decided I'm going to learn. I'm going to master it. Guess what? Take a guess. Wild guess.
Probably fermentation and turning
no,
weeds into
after today, yes, that was very enlightening. But no, I'm learning Morse code. I'm going to learn Morse code so that I can just listen to it and write it down. So
really,
it's been fun so far. I'm just barely getting started, but I can see I'm going to be able to do this. I can do this, and so I'm very interested in it.
It's funny because I had the Morse code chart in front of me just the other day as I'm doing my ham radio prep.
Yeah.
I even created our own ITU phonetic alphabet chart. Don't look too closely. This is the one I printed off and shared before I spell checked. And I'm like, I made a major mistake. How do you spell whiskey?
WH. Whiskey. My safe word will be whiskey.
Yeah, but is there a T after whis? And before key?
No,
there's not. I don't know where the T came from, but it ended up on my list. Which
did you get my
our contest?
Did you get my spelling corrections to write your last email there, Scott?
I did, and appreciate that.
Right.
So with me doing our blabbing on about things we're doing, if you guys haven't gotten your first, second, or third level on the ham radio licensing, and you want to get any one of those. Guys, we are doing a contest. We're giving away 2 of these little bug out bags. I really call these just a utility bag. Keep one of these in my car with all my get home stuff. It comes with the UV5R Baofeng ham radio and the piece de resistance. One of our
badges.
So make sure you're part of the group. Get in there and let's see how fast you can get yours. The first 2 people get their next license win. So now that we've gone completely off OPSEC, let's get back to it. So what is OPSEC, Shane?
Well, I'm taking a different, kind of like what Mike's saying here. You know, he said OPSEC's kind of impossible for me. I kind of agree, especially obviously what we're doing here now. OPSEC is, I'm again trying to come up with a different term for it, just like for other things, because they don't exactly explain what my process, what I'm trying to do. OPSEC, okay, I get it. It's more of a military term. I don't have military background. I'm really not interested in that kind of stuff. Although I see there will be a need for it, and I get what it's about. But basically, I'm turning it into "Thou shalt bear false witness," if that makes sense. It is. It's not a commandment to bear. It is a commandment to not bear false witness against your neighbor, right. But it's not a commandment to lie about your preps.
Well, so here's the thing.
And it goes much further than that too. It's about being deceitful. I'm using these words very carefully, right here, guys?
I look at it as exclusionary content.
Okay.
I don't have to tell everybody everything. There's no reason to tell everybody everything. There's certain things I tell everybody that'll probably hurt me in the end, but I overshare on everything except the things that I don't want anyone to know. That's I think the distinguishing difference between like the military term OPSEC is operational security. It's keeping things quiet so that the entire operation and all the participants in it can do their jobs for the duration of that operation, that task. It's a short-term solution to a problem they're having. Keep it quiet so that they have a higher likelihood or statistical outcome to what they're trying to accomplish. In prepping, it's different because it's not a, hey guys, overnight we're going to do this. It's, hey guys, for the rest of my life, I'm doing this. And so I look at certain things as exclusionary content.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to figure out how the best way to say this is. The straightforward way to say this is we are at war.
Yeah.
We are at war, and not necessarily country to country, but we are at war with, I'll say, our government. We're at war with those who would take advantage of us, right? And when you're at war, it's best to make yourself look weak when you're strong, right? Sun Tzu, right? Art of War.
Very good.
And to make yourself look, what's the word I wanted to use here? Ignorant when you're informed, when you're wise, right? So that's kind of where I was going with my intro comments there, is lying is, I grew up, of course, thinking, being taught lying is not okay. And I still agree with that. I don't like to lie. I don't like to, when I'm asked a question, I like to be honest, and if someone asked me something about my preps, I have a little bit of that internal struggle because I'd like to be honest. I want to be honest. Right. But that's something I'm working at getting over. And I know that there's plenty of techniques where I could say, it's just not something I'm sharing, but I'm trying actually to go the other way, kind of to be, like I mentioned, be a little bit, kind of deceitful to where, okay, here's another silly, stupid example. When I was getting ready for this, I'm sitting at my kitchen counter. I got the TV on. And so what show is on? A James Bond movie, right? And James Bond makes no sense to me whatsoever. He's this dapper, good-looking, handsome guy that, anyway, and he walks in. I'm a spy. Look at me. I'm a spy.
No code names.
Exactly.
Everything's
James Bond. Board.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, they're not trying to be deceitful out. He's just straightforward. I'm James Bond. Of course, I'm obviously a spy. I mean, what is that about? I've never understood that. Obviously it's a movie, they're books. It's meant to be entertaining, right? And
I lost your audio.
Yeah, no, I bumped my mic and it does that. So, and obviously Daniel Craig, man, he's the best Bond ever, and all us guys want to be like Daniel Craig, but I tell you, it's hard. Yeah, I think it can be hard. Yeah, I want to be that dapper guy. Of course, you want to be James Bond in that tux walking in and just everybody's looking at you. Ooh, that's James Bond. Of course. Hello, Mr. Bond. Of course, everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, do you still want to feel that way? Like, I think that's a phase of life.
Yeah. No doubt.
Like there was like when I was trying to find a wife, when I was a single guy, I was like, I wish people would notice me, and I was the James Bond looking guy walking in, right? Zero. Here's the thing, James Bond, zero of him is covert. None of it.
Yeah, he's not a gray man. He's
none of it's gray, none of it's invisible. What's funny is the memes going around the internet. There's this WWE superstar that no one's ever gotten a picture of him because he goes like this. You know who I'm talking about?
I don't. I don't know.
No, this doesn't age. This is well,
not talking John Cena. Anyway,
it is John Cena. Like the joke is like, oh, look who I got a picture with. No one's in the picture, right?
He's always
there. He's just as bad as James Bond. Thinks he's invisible. We though have to figure out how to make part of our life invisible. Portions, right? If not lots of. Yes, Mike, we watch too much TV. We grew up without parents most of the time, and so we watched way too much TV, or we're hiking in the woods, getting lost, doing all kinds of fun stuff. We were up to mischief. We're Gen Z. That's what we do. And we remember all that crap.
I'll tell you, Mike, I in my younger days, yes, I watched too many cartoons, right? But this James Bond movie came on. I have not seen it. I couldn't tell you what is it called. It's called No Time to Die. I have not seen it. I would probably like to sit down and watch it, but I purposefully say, okay, I want to watch this, and so I turn it off. That's my mindset. I want to watch this, so I'm not going to. Like I say, especially if it's on TV, Mike. I totally agree with you. It's but there are things that can be learned. Like that little lesson, that was just the perfect lesson for me at the right time. So, yeah, Austin Powers. Oh, I can't stand.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I've seen the first one a long time ago. Yeah.
Well, that's like all I can think of whenever I hear Austin Powers is, yeah, baby.
Yeah,
like,
baby.
Are you a prepper? Like, yeah, baby. Like, no, just keep it on the down low. We spent too much time. This is like a perfect analogy of where the world's moving and where they're trying to continue to move. Is everybody wants to be James Bond. Everything on social media. Look at me, look what I can do. I'm on a yacht. I'm on a boat. No, don't.
Yeah, it's obviously not working for us because we only have 1,640 subscribers on YouTube. So we're not popular, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Me too. As long as we're helping somebody, that's all we've been asked to do. And so we will continue to do that. But when it comes to your safety in the future, you need to get really good at keeping things quiet.
Misdirection, kind of like WebDad was saying there. You tell them what they want to hear, right? Not necessarily what's the truth. Something that will inspire them, but also kind of misdirect and obviously that's going to take some practice and some thinking and some planning, but I think it can be done. And that's kind of what I was leading to with my bit of an intro there. I don't like lying. I don't like, being deceiving or anything like that, but I think I need to think about it more seriously because there is a reason for OPSEC. Maybe not right now, and maybe not in a year or two, but who knows? But I think it is much more valuable to be the gray man, obviously, than to be talk show hosts.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like part of the thing we want to talk about tonight is like when to disappear, when to bounce out, what to disconnect, how to disconnect, but also really creating that non-prepping persona so that people do forget about you. Like it's a funny thing because I was the emergency preparedness coordinator for my church, and I was released from that a few months ago, like less than 6 months ago, and now I'm a block captain under the emergency preparedness coordinator. Like immediately back into it, and they're like, "Oh, you did that? That was you?" I'm like, "Okay, apparently I did a good job of being completely forgettable."
No, we just did. Cause I have I'm in the same role, and I just went through. There's a local company called Rockwell. They make water tanks. They make a great product. And I was able to get a 30% discount, which turns out is not fantastic. I found some other ones actually better price, but we ran that program for about a month. Nobody participated in my entire, not just ward, but stake, the entire stake. Nobody participated. And so obviously I've got a lot of weight behind my name and my experience and such. So,
well, the cool thing is this: everyone is so busy worrying about themselves, they really don't focus on you that much.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
And until they need you, they're not going to remember most of that.
That's the story of my life. Yeah, absolutely.
Even then, they might not remember anything. And that's the thing. It's like, you've got to get to a point in your preparedness and in your journey that it's not part of everyday conversation unless it's someone you really want to help and someone that you trust. Otherwise, it's not part of everyday conversation, right? You hide what you're doing. When things go sideways, that's when you make yourself even more invisible, right? Make your house look junky, put boards on the walls, like do the spray painting that CERT tells you what to do. Like, oh, there's someone that died here, we're painting that on the wall, right? Look at the symbols and things to help make yourself less approachable.
Well, and the first casualty of war is the truth, right? Did I say that right? And so, like I said, I believe we are at war with various different forces. They, them. Sorry, I said that wrong. They. That's correct. Them,
demons,
those guys. Not what the new meaning it's taken on, but there are people who want to take advantage of us, and I'm taking the approach that it is war, and I need to be completely aware of what I say, what I do, that it can and will likely be used against me in whether it's a court of law or not, right? And so, and like WebDad says, be forgettable. Dude, that's the story of my life. Another stupid, silly example. We all think about our, high school, right? High school was, we had our friends. I have one friend from high school that I keep in touch with, and he and we reach back and forth to each other on a regular basis. We go to lunch maybe every couple of months, but there are, and occasionally I'll reach out to a friend to say, hey, let's go have lunch or whatever. But no one ever reaches out to me. And I kind of like that because I am definitely forgettable. And I don't know what to think about that. Like you say, Scott, people are narcissists. They only think of themselves.
Yeah.
And I'll stop while I'm ahead there.
Well, I think that's proving the point that I was talking about. It's like people are so focused on self that they don't think about others. And so we, as preparedness-minded people, we need to use that to our advantage while we can. Because when the tables turn, then we have to get more proactive in our invisibility. Questions in the chat. Some people, if you're on Facebook, you'll see the Facebook chatters. If you're on YouTube, you'll see the YouTube chatters. If you're on our system, we get to see both.
Yeah, we're posting.
So apologies to those who don't know that. We should probably make that more well known every time. Probably the easiest thing to do, guys, if you want to always see all the chatter, the most of it that happens is actually on our YouTube channel every Wednesday night. Make sure you head over there, subscribe, share the channel, because you know what? We are anti-OPSEC for our channel. Here's the thing. Like, as we've been talking about this topic and thinking about what we're doing, like, I want to get more and more away from looking different than everybody else. My house, nondescript. My yard, nondescript.
Yeah.
When it comes time to have an emergency, like, for example, there's different types of emergencies where you're going to use different tools. Everyone, and we had some amazing comments in the group about what's been going on in Houston with these storms, and I can't pronounce it. So if you want to tell us what it was, Shane, the winds, whatever. Anyways, you guys can make fun of me later. Make sure you comment, like, and share how dumb I am sometimes. But when the power went out, they ran their other generator immediately. They took care of things. Yeah, the generator's running for 4 days. They didn't move to their solar. They didn't switch to anything. Short-term solutions, that's great. But in a long-term situation, if things, or should I say when things go sideways, the number one thing that's going to give you away is cooking. That and you looking fat still when everyone else is losing weight. Right? And so you have to plan accordingly so that you don't look different, that your smells aren't coming out of the house. The more you can do to make yourself less visible and less approachable, the better. Sandy, YouTube, I'll send you the link.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, odors are obviously a huge part of your operational security, if you want to call it that. However, I think the key is, and Mike's comment here is absolutely true. How can we walk away, from anyone we love, from our neighbors, from family, and of course, as I get older, I've got a grandchild, and my kids are moving away, and that's a big struggle for me. So, what are truly my plans going to be? Am I going to go and then leave it up to them to join me at our bug out location, right? And that's something I'm still working on. And would I like to go there now and leave Babylon behind and everybody else make their own decisions? I would. But and most of my family, my close friends who I would like to have with me in my group, they don't see things the way I see things. So I am kind of a lone wolf, you could kind of say. I've got a lot of resources, a lot of friends and families over, but a lone wolf in the terms of kind of doing my own thing, right? Other than Scott and Paris, right?
And the reality is that a lot of us, when things go sideways, we are going to be somewhat on our own, and especially once we outlast other people. I look at my neighborhood, and I've got a lot of good people here that are preppers, and they're in some ways way better than me. In other ways, I'm better than them. Everyone has different advantages and disadvantages in their situation. But I don't know their whole story and their whole situation, right? I intentionally don't want to know.
Yeah.
As well as I intentionally don't share that with them. When it comes to widows and children in the future, it's going to be on my heart to feed them as well. But we also have to take into consideration, and this is what I look at it this way, is there's the parable of the 10 virgins in the Bible, New Testament. And it talks about when the time comes, if you don't have oil, you're not going to the wedding feast. The 5 foolish virgins, I won't be able to feed. They'll be on their own. In the parable, it says, let them go to the money changers and to the market to get oil. That tells me this isn't a spiritual parable first and foremost. It's a physical parable. It's a preparation parable. We need to be preparing ourselves mentally, spiritually, and physically. We do those things and keep it on the hush, we're going to be better prepared, not just to take care of ourselves, but also the people who we can and should take care of when things go sideways.
And I think it really is just going to come down to when that actually happens, what the actual scenario is. Because I can't predict exactly what's going to happen and who's going to be in my life and who's not going to be and who's going to choose this and that, because it's going to be their choice, right? And I realize I can't hardly affect anybody's decisions nowadays, especially my own kids and family. They do what they want. And until they learn for themselves that I only have their best interests at heart, and I want them to be with me and I want to be with them, they have to they're going to make their own choices. And I have no idea what those are going to be at this point, but and hopefully we have time to where, and I was talking with a sister the other night, and I've got 7 brothers and sisters. So we've got I've got brothers who are on the same page as me, and sisters that are not, and brothers that are not. And so it's I don't know what's going to happen. I could tell you what I'd like the ideal situation to be, but I just don't know at this point. So I don't know if it makes sense to try and speculate and plan for those types of things, but just plan for my own immediate family at this point. But I guess kind of going back to the OPSEC is one thing that Scott and I were talking about is, and I guess kind of on that same line that we're continuing on is when do you cut ties with some of these people, and do you does that make any sense, or do you continue to try until you can no longer try anymore?
So here's my experience so far. There are people in my tight familial circle that want to join in prepping and want everyone else to participate, but the exercises that we've done together has proven that they just want to know what everyone else has, so that they have access to it. So I've alienated those people from any conversation about preparedness. That's, to me, step one, alienating those conversations. Not the person, like, you're still there for the family members, right? You're still there for your friends, but alienate those conversations with those people. Talk about anything but prep. Talk about the dumbest things that they love. Focus on the conversation topics they love, and they'll never bug you about the things that you love, because everybody wants to talk about themselves. The more you can do that, the easier it is to become invisible. Like, what's funny is in my circle, in my group, I'm probably the number one most prepared person in my family. But I've alienated that conversation so well that people have stopped coming to me. And they go to another guy in the family. And I'm like, sorry, dude. But for personal safety, I kind of have to do that.
Yeah.
I have to draw the line somewhere. Friends and acquaintances, it's a really easy way for me to avoid conversations when they start asking about that stuff, to just move on. Right. It's the same thing with a mugger. And I know there's a weird switch. If you're out in town and there's a mugger and they're looking for a target, are they looking for the person who's aware of what's going on, the person that looks like a bad target? Or are they looking for the one that's got the jewels on and that's not paying attention, that's staring at their phone, that looks like a good target? Right. It's the idea of making yourself a bad target.
Right. So
not creating a dangerous persona necessarily, but creating one that just looks like it's not worth it. It's too much of a hassle. Nobody wants to wrestle a dirty pig for nothing. And so becoming the dirty pig makes you less visible to the world.
Well, people either take advantage of the weak or they ignore them. Right. So unless you have a powerful presence, you're going to essentially be ignored. And that's where, these narcissists tend to stand out and gain power and become congressmen and senators and politicians in general.
Mike, your wife probably already knows that you're a prepper. If she hasn't figured it out by now, I love you, dude. This is awesome. Yeah, looking visibly weak and being weak are two completely different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And that does go back to your initial conversation starter point, was like, at what point am I being dishonest? Or do I feel dishonest? And I don't think there's any dishonesty in that, because you're just trying to keep yourself out of the equation. That's what becoming an invisible prepper is removing yourself from the equation. You don't ever have to find out what 4 + 2 is if 2 doesn't exist anymore. Get out of the equation.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. And Sandy just commented, she's really not getting any conversations. And honestly, I haven't been either getting many conversations from friends or family. And I think, and also, you mentioned, Scott, earlier today, and just divulged a little information that, our downloads have turned down, our views have gone down a little bit. And like, how does that make any sense? Because when things take off, it typically goes hockey stick, right? It may take a while, but it goes uphill at a regular rate, and then it tends to take off a little faster. And we saw that for a while, and then we have a little bit of downturn. How does that make any sense? And I think maybe some of that has to do with what's going on politically. People are thinking, oh, he's gonna get reelected, and then we're gonna be good again, right? Just like before, right? Mm-hmm. That was like the worst time for prepping, and for prepping businesses, and is when Trump was president. People, they just put too much trust in him. Oh, things are gonna be good now. They're gonna be fine. We don't have to worry about prepping. So maybe, Sandy, that's part of the equation. I don't know, maybe because it's an election cycle.
That's a good point. Because also, if you look at the news and everything that's going on, it's like nothing's changed. The world is still in chaos. But yeah, absolutely, content is being suppressed all across the board.
I'm sure that's part of it too. Yeah.
And we're not the only ones that are talking about it. I've got a lot of friends that are creators in the preparedness industry that are like, hey, I'm not getting any views. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's typical of the cycle. It comes and goes.
But like you say, maybe it's being actively suppressed as well.
Yeah.
Which would make sense too.
Could be for greater blessing and a greater ability for us to be preserved. Gives us that true. Invisible prepper feel.
No, that's true.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, you kind of be ignored and be the gray man. And even though we're trying, right? We're trying to get some attention. Or it could bring more people into the fold. So
it could just be that school just got out and everyone's ditched the electronics for a while and they're out at the beach or they're having fun. Hopefully that's what it is.
But yeah, that's true.
That's the key. We broadcast weekly at 6 p.m. Are live from the Rocky Mountains here in Utah. We're at Rocky Mountain time every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. But you guys can find us. Our podcast is pretty much on every syndicated podcast platform. You can listen there as well. But we do 2 episodes a week. Make sure you join the family, get involved, and hang out with us wherever you can, because we like to have fun.
Yeah, and I think Mike has a point here too about it's the channels that promote fear, the doom and gloom, which I'm taken in by it too. I like to hear that stuff on occasion too, kind of validate my beliefs and where I think things are going. And I get it, and that may be the case as well. So
it's funny because we can't be loud enough to help more people and still be ignored. But yet when things go sideways, everyone wants your help. So I kind of put that into practice. This is part of this makes sense when I get to it. When we have disasters locally, our church gets very involved. They send people to help. I try to be early at everything I do except those events. And I know this probably makes me sound like a horrible person. But I like to not show up with my chainsaw if we're clearing trees. I like to not show up with all my tools until about 15 minutes after everyone else gets there, and show up with my tools, and then if we need them, I'll go back and get more, depending. But it makes me less of a first person you're going to call situation, or first person they're going to see on your mind. Everyone thinks of the first 3 people that show up every time and know, oh, those guys are always there. They're always there. Even though I'm always there, I'm never there on time for those, to try to keep myself less known. I feel like I'm sounding like a horrible person all of a sudden, because I'm trying to be avoidant in life for the purpose of protecting my family.
I know what you mean. There are other people that need the blessings, right? I get it, right? Let's spread the blessings around instead of taking them all for ourselves and doing all the service ourselves, right? At least that's my attitude. Like, for example, the first probably 20 years of my married life, when you live in an LDS community, we like to help each other move, right? That's kind of a tradition. When somebody moves, everybody gets a call. Hey, so-and-so is moving, or somebody's moving in. And honestly, I showed up. I moved a lot of families almost by myself. And I got to the point where, like, I'm going to leave others this opportunity to earn the blessings of helping this family move in or out. So I've kind of stepped back from that. And honestly said, I've had my share of moving.
I always got called because I had a truck. Oh, you got a truck.
A trailer.
Can you help us move? Oh, we're moving across town. It's 3 hours to where we're going. Can you help us move? I can help you load up. Like, well, no, we need your truck. I'm like, are you gonna pay me for gas? Like, are you gonna pay me for my time? Because that's like a whole extra 4 hours to get back. Like all my time again. Like, come on, people. Like, but yeah, same thing. I just try to avoid. I'm avoidant of being involved where everyone can utilize my skills all the time.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And you guys, if you haven't noticed already, Paris is invisible tonight. He's gotten really good at this today. He'll be back with us next week, but he's out at another business event, if I remember right, presenting on financial self-reliance, which is his other business, which he's very knowledgeable. So check him out.
Yeah, and I guess another example as well, like Jammer's saying, you'll be taken advantage of if people know what you have, because a fair amount of people, and here's another simple example. Again, in our church group, people who play the piano are highly desired, right? If you can play the piano, if you can play the organ, it's always those same people who are asked and called to play the piano, play the organ every single time, I come to find out after the fact, there are other people who know how to play that. They just never say anything because they don't want to get called on, right? And I'm one of those people, but I can play. But I tell you, put me in front of people, I can't play at all, and so I'm useless that way. But
funny.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You get taken advantage of.
If you're in the same area for a long time, the solution then is to move early, right? Get out of there.
Say it again, Scott. You kind of broke up.
If you're in the same location for a long time, the solution is to move early, right? Go somewhere new and don't make any friends. And then you're fine, because no one's going to know who you are, what you're about, if you don't make any new friends. I joke about it, but I kind of want to be the curmudgeon-y old guy that kids walk to the other side of the street and they're like, I don't go to there. He'll yell at you, get off my lawn. No, I'm never going to be that way because I'm too talkative and I really enjoy my neighbors. But yeah, it's like you kind of have to find a way to really alienate yourself from the world. Leave Babylon, let Babylon be, and move to a place of peace and tranquility.
Either that or take on the responsibility just on for your neighbors, and just jump in for all the activities. Be the one who always be the example, right? If someone's going to move, be the first one there. If someone needs a tree cut down, be the first one there. And I guess it really depends on your attitude. If you want to be remarkable or unremarkable, if you want to be noticed, or if you want to be, in the background, which I like to sit on the back row. And so since I like to sit on the back row, I go and sit on the front row, right? I know that's where I'm more comfortable, in the back row. So I'll go sit on the front row, and kind of like, in this situation, if I have a thought come to mind, boom, I just spit it out, just let it come out and see how it comes out. And sometimes it doesn't come out so well, but I mean, that's practice makes perfect, right? So I definitely am more comfortable sitting in the back and being the gray man. No doubt about that. So,
okay, Web Dad, I appreciate this. He says he disagrees. Being an isolationist can make you more visible in some cases. You have to blend in. And that's the thing. Like, I jokingly say don't make friends, but I agree with that. I would like to move, and that's what I'm working towards, to where I'm a little less visible, but I'm also not isolated. If you get my drift. I 100%. Here's my thing about prepping that I love. If we're doing it right, we're creating amazing communities and building resilience around us. However, the problem is that we're finding less and less people who want to do that. And so we need to make sure we're very cautious in who we surround ourselves with and what we share with them, because we want to keep invisible to them. But yeah, there is a point, if you go too far, people are like, what's with creepy dude over there all the time? What's with, right? You start standing out for other reasons. So I'll pitch it to you guys. What's the right way to do this? What's the right way, in your opinions? I want you to light up the comments. What's the right way to become invisible, but still be 100% involved?
100%. I don't know if you can be 100% involved. I think you have to be 50% involved. 50% show up 50% of the time. You show up, and 50% of the time you don't. And so you're right there in the middle, kind of like what WebDad was saying. It makes me think of, he's absolutely right. It makes me think of the movie The Burbs, right? that creepy family that just want to be left alone. They were the focus of the neighborhood there.
But weren't they creepy? It's been so long.
But they were creepy. Yes, they were definitely creepy.
Weren't they burying bodies in the basement like that?
Well, that's the premise of the show, but
who knows, right? But also, you don't want to be the Tom Hanks in that movie either.
Right.
Where you're involving yourself in everything.
In everybody's, yeah, exactly.
Or the dude with the flagpole and in the front yard who's all tactical all the time, right?
So what you do, you go be the block captain, and everybody ignores you, and you're set. Right?
There you go.
So you try to get the attention, and you get ignored, and so then you're right where you want, right where I want to be, right?
So I guess I need to become Chicken Little and say it loud enough that everyone just ignores me.
There you go.
Forward.
There you go. Cry wolf too many times, and then you'll just be ignored, and maybe that's the balance right there.
Yeah. So then what? Then what do you do, right? How do you survive, and how do you sustain when you've become that guy or that lady? Because you still need community.
Yeah.
You still need, because no man can survive on their own. And that's the problem with the lone wolf world. You cannot long-term do well by yourself. I mean, we live in the Rocky Mountains. There's some really cool, amazing stories of pioneers and amazing stories of wilderness survivalists. Like, one of my favorite characters in history is Porter Rockwell. Porter Rockwell, by all accounts, is one of the toughest dudes that ever lived in the Rocky Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
There's one story talks about how when they were coming across the mountains, across the plains, they saw the buffalo. He rode out into a stampeding buffalo run, leaned off his horse and shot a buffalo in the forehead just to see what would happen, because he'd seen that these buffalo skulls are so thick, and he just rode back to the group he was with and laughed the whole time, said, "Wow, I knew that shooting that would do nothing. It didn't even phase it. It was his rifle." Other stories of him where he would actually go into the wilderness, and he survived alone for over a year, but he still had to come to town to resupply because the winters are harsh, and he had to find something to be able to do. And so he put himself in danger to do that, which tells me we cannot survive alone. And we're not designed to survive alone. So we have to be thoughtful about our process and who we let in, but also cautious, because nobody can survive alone.
It's not healthy. I mean, mentally, it's not healthy either. I mean, look at people who have isolated themselves. And there's the example of the guy who just walked off into the wilderness, and he ended up, to survive, he robbed cabins. I forget his name or the name of the story, but he did that for like 20 plus years, maybe close to 30 years. I mean, that's not a well individual. No. So you have to, and I hate saying that, but for me, I need some interaction. I do prefer to, like I say, be at the back of the group. I'm not the talkative one that goes and makes a spectacle. I will chime in if needed. Otherwise, I'm the one who leaves first. I come late, and I'm like, okay, I'll show up, and then I'm leaving because I didn't really want to come in the first place to the whatever it is, right?
So you've mastered the art of the Irish goodbye.
Is that what it's called?
You just disappear without
you
saying
walk
goodbye
through
to
the group.
anybody.
You walk in. You walk right out the back door.
I was just about to bring this up too. Thank you, Mike. The Alone show is probably one of the best examples of what it's like surviving alone. Like, correct me, but I think one of the longest anyone's been out was 72 days.
Somewhere
around there.
65 plus, yeah.
Biggest challenge people are running into is their mental game, their mental health. being able to continue all by yourself, worrying about all the things stuck back in Babylon where your family is, right? Worrying about those things is not healthy, but also how much can I really do? And what's crazy about the show is they put you in a situation where you have to tap out eventually because it's such a hard location. You can't, it's physically impossible to stay there forever. Utah Mike, thank you. 100 days.
Oh, wow.
The mountain men, the tradition was that they would have these rendezvous and they would have trading places. They would go to trade and barter. So they weren't 100% alone. So when people think of, well, the mountain men could do it, well, they didn't really do it the way we think they did it. Some of the best ones I've seen are the guys that are out in the middle of Alaska, but it's just their little family, right? Their little family has their own homestead. And in our next episode that's going to drop on Tuesday, you guys got to listen to this because it is all about sustainable, like regenerative farm. Like you can create your own ecosystem of everything feeding itself. You never have to buy fertilizer. You never, like, it's amazing.
Pretty awesome.
We had J.R. Hendry on, and yeah, you can completely step away from everything else and be invisible. But as it was just put a minute ago, one of the best things you can do is to look and act like your surroundings become invisible. Right? Keep your preps private. Keep your plans private. Look like everybody else. Act like everybody else until the time to act different arises and get out of the way.
You know, and I honestly, I'm finding that harder and harder nowadays because of the things I'm learning, the lies I've was taught my entire life, how, I mean, a whole bunch of different factors. I'm just finding it harder and harder to be part of this system. Honestly,
yeah,
it is. You know, we call it Babylon. I mean, that's probably the most accurate description. Is, you know, we live in Babylon. We have to be part of Babylon. I was born into this system, and I hate it more and more every day. Maybe hate's too strong of a word, but I'm just finding that more and more difficult.
You're getting more and more uncomfortable, aren't you?
I am, and I'm downtown Salt Lake City all the time. I'm in traffic. I'm used to it. You know, I do this almost every day. I'm out and about with clients and customers, and that's normal to me. But I'm liking it less and less. I want to be separate more and more. And of course, traffic is getting worse. Crowds are getting worse. You know, where we live. I mean, that's happened since I've been in this valley for how much, 45 years. You know, more than that. And I've seen all the changes, and with seeing all the changes, it should be easy to accept, you know, and because you're seeing things change, and it's just normal, right? Change is normal. But I think once your eyes are open and you can see what the truth is and way life really should be and the way I want my life to be, it's just becoming harder and harder to fit in. And not to speak my mind as well, to people I care about, that I want to know the truth, that I want to know my perspective on how I see things and how things have changed and how they're not normal, right? This is not how it's supposed to be. And I want to share that, but most of the time it falls on deaf ears, and most of the time I'm better off not having said anything, right? So
yeah,
take that for what it's worth. Call it my parting comment.
So in wrapping up for the night, guys, be thoughtful what you say, be thoughtful what you do, because what you say and do can either become an attractant for others, a warning light, or help you become more invisible. So in your preparedness, first and foremost in everything, keep God in the plan. He'll help guide you in the right way. Focus on your family's needs, not just your food, not just your water. Take care of your medical. Take care of your entire solution. We talk about the 90-day pantry all the time. Guys, that is not just a pantry. It should be a home store. Have your soaps. Have your detergents. Have your ways to clean and maintain things. Have your tools. Do what you can while you can, and don't stress everything else out. Don't let everything else stress you. If you don't have everything you want, everything you think you need, get what you can, do what you can within reason, and just keep working on it. It's not even a marathon. It's not a race. It's just a journey. Enjoy the journey. Thank you for being part of the show tonight, guys. We appreciate all that you guys do for the community. Thanks for your shares, for all the likes, the laughs, and the hearts on the live tonight. Do yourselves a favor. Check out our friends, survivalfrog.com. They've got some amazing gear. I've actually got their water bag out in the backyard. I filled it up, and I'm seeing how long it'll hold water. It's designed to keep, it's a dry bag. It's designed to keep everything inside dry. Well, I like everything with dual purposes. I've been testing it out. It's been out there for over a day. Check out that item on their store. Use the code PrepperTalk. Save 10%. You got some tasty foods. They got some other good gear. Hopefully we can help you get better prepared. If you have questions, if you want more, jump in our group, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance, over on Facebook. We'd love to have you over there. Thanks for tuning in and not tuning out and focusing on being the solution. Thanks for being ready-minded. Have a good night.
See you guys next week.